Chapter 21, A Hard Winter. The winter before 1999 was a hard one, and it taught Ethan the limit of his own gift in the cruelest way it could, through the household budget. He had been so proud of the money. The quiet bet on Ethan's company, the avoided ruin, the small armor thickening year by year beneath the family. He had thought of it as one of his cleaner victories, a future-proofing that needed no last-second heroics. But the money he had grown was future money. It sat in a stock that would not bloom for years, untouchable, a fortune in waiting that did exactly nothing for a family that needed to pay this month's rent in this month's dollars. And this winter, this month, the dollars were short. It was nothing dramatic. It was the ordinary arithmetic of a working family in a cold season, the boiler that ate fuel, the slow stretch of winter when construction work thinned and David's paychecks thinned with it, a car repair, a doctor's visit for Emma's ear, the small relentless erosions that no foreknowledge could prevent because they were not events, only the steady friction of being not quite poor. The armor Ethan had built was real, but it was armor for the future, and the present was bleeding the family in 100 small places the future could not staunch. He felt the helplessness of it more sharply than he had felt anything since the flood. Because there was nothing to do. This was the thing that undid his confidence. Every other threat in his second life had been an event, a teapot, a fire, a venture, a day, a thing that happened at a time, that a clever child could steer or smother or avoid. But a hard winter was not an event. It was a condition, a slow grinding pressure with no single moment to bend, and Ethan's whole toolkit was built for moments. He could not fuss a boiler into burning less fuel. He could not point at the rent and make it smaller. He could not tantrum the price of a doctor's visit away. His foreknowledge, which knew the shape of decades, was useless against the simple present need for a few $100s now, and the cold river in him churned against the wall of it the same way it churned against the wall in his chest. He learned the lesson and hated it and set it down with the others. Foreknowledge is leverage, not omnipotence. It is a map, not a wallet. It can move a moment. It cannot feed a winter. Do not mistake knowing the future for controlling the present. But the lesson was not the worst of it. The worst of it was what the hard winter did to his father. David Cole was not a man who could watch his family pinched and sit still. He had spent his whole life answering need with work, more hours, more jobs, more of the only currency he had, the labor of his own careful hands. And so when the winter tightened, and the paychecks thinned and Susan's face started carrying that particular worry at the dinner table, David did exactly what David always did. He went looking for more work. And the work that was available in a thin winter to a carpenter who needed it badly was the careless work. The work that ran long and paid quick. The work thrown his way by friendly, careless men who didn't ask too much, and didn't pay too well, and didn't worry overmuch about crews driving tired down bad roads in bad weather. The work thrown his way by Vance. Ethan had spent years, steering his father gently away from Vance, building in him a slow, vague preference for steadier, safer jobs, cutting the thread that led to the fatal road one patient grain at a time. And the hard winter undid it in a matter of weeks. Because a man with a cold house and a worried wife and a baby's doctor bills does not turn down quick work over a vague preference his 7-year-old somehow planted in him. He takes the work. He takes whatever work there is. Ethan listened from the floor as his father, pressed and tired and proud, told Susan that Vance had a job out past the edge of the city, good money, started soon, that he'd take it, that it would get them through the winter. Out past the edge of the city. The development. The two-lane road. Ethan sat very still on the green linoleum and felt the years of careful steering wash away like the teapot had never been saved, like the fire had never been smothered, like none of his patient work had happened at all. That night he did not listen inward. He lay in the dark and did the cold arithmetic, and the arithmetic was bad. The river had pushed back. He understood that now, understood it not as a single flood, like the near miss with his mother, but as a current, a deep and patient pressure that had been working against him the whole time. He had spent years nudging his father off the fatal road, and the river had simply waited and found another channel, and used a hard winter to drive David back toward exactly the place Ethan had been steering him away from. The first rule, move early, move small, had been right, and he had followed it, and it had not been enough. The day had weight. Some days, the map had warned him, simply wanted to happen, and gathered all the loose threads of a life back toward themselves no matter how you pulled. The morning in 1999 was one of those days. He could feel it now, the gravity of it drawing his father in. He had hoped, had spent 3 years hoping, that the early small work would be enough, that he would never have to make the last-second save, never have to break the second rule, never have to stand in those 4 blurred seconds fighting in the dark. The hard winter killed the hope. The early work had failed. His father was bound for the Vance job, the development, the two-lane road, the gray, wet morning, and all of Ethan's patient years had bought him not a clean escape, but only this: a little more time to prepare for the desperate thing he had prayed he would not have to do. The day was coming. It had always been coming. And now it was close. Ethan lay in the dark, 7 years old, stalled at the wall of his own power, and began, coldly, methodically, with everything he had, to plan for the morning he could no longer prevent.